Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and I'm fairly sure that most of you are familiar with the proverbial scratch test that people mention when you can cut the stems or scratch the bark away on your plant and see green underneath and you miraculously think the plant's still alive. It's not really an accurate indication of actually the plant being alive or the fact that it's going to recover, because what tends to happen is especially in our colder climate, the colour or chlorophyll doesn't break down as quickly in the stems in cold weather as it would do sort of at other times of the year. So sometimes you can get a plant that you cut a stem like this, for example. This is my yuzu, and I'll just cut through this stem here, and you'll see, I think you can see on camera, that the inside of this stem actually looks completely green. You think, oh great, it's alive, but I can assure you from looking at the outside of the stem that the whole of the outer stems on this plant are completely dead, certainly up the top half. And basically what happens, the cold has destroyed the outer cells, which is where the growth buds would be, or dormant growth buds would be of the plant. So even if the inside of the stem is green here, if you can just, even if the inside of the stem looks green, and if I scratch that bark with a finger deep enough, I'd obviously come down to the green layer. Look, that is green. So you'd go, oh, that plant's alive, you know, the scratch test shows it's alive. No, this plant on the outer stems is dead, and all of the growth materials form in the outer layers of the plant. So scratching the bark and getting green underneath, there's nothing for the sap or liquids in the plant to actually flow to, because the outer bark is actually completely dead, where the dormant growth buds will be. Now, that's not to say this plant is completely dead. I mean, it looks pretty dire, to be honest, but what I'm going to do now, as we're early in April, I'm actually going to cut all of this spiky, dead, dangerous looking growth off, because there's no point having most of it on. And I'm just going to cut it back to a shortened stump, because if there is any tissue that is still alive here, it will be right down this stem here, might still have some genuine life in it here, and all of these stems here. Now interestingly, we have had some discussions with other people, this doesn't actually look like a grafted plant. Although there's a slightly swollen area there, they may have it may be where it was originally cut. Excuse me. It may be where the plant was cut off to cause it to branch out, but there's no obvious sign of a graft here, and a yuzu rootstock would be considered to be extremely hardy anyway. The only one that's definitely going to be hardy is going to be a poncerus, so there wouldn't be much point grafting a yuzu unless you're putting it on a poncerus rootstock, because any other rootstock's not going to be any hardier than the yuzu. Now, there is certainly a chance that this can rejuvenate, so what I'm going to do is cut off all the dead growth which is unsightly, in the way, and dangerous, or the growth that clearly is going to be dead. These branches are just complete brown, dried out twigs now. The weather was just too cold for it this winter, and I didn't protect it, which I could have done, but I was experimenting to see how hardy the yuzu would be, and obviously I was being a little bit naive as well, because I genuinely thought it would be hardy down to about -10. We got, certainly to my knowledge, for 2 or 3 nights, got -7 here where I live in December, but I've heard from a friend who lives sort of just round the corner that he actually recorded -10 in his garden. So I'm thinking that the actual temperature drop was colder than it indicated on the weather forecasts and on what we'd read about. So this yuzu, being a young plant and unprotected, it was obviously too extreme for it. However, I still think there's a possibility that these main stems, the bark hasn't split open on them, and normally when the bark splits open you know the plant's totally dead, but as it's still, it looks fairly intact on here, there is a possibility of regeneration from lower down. And obviously should that happen, I'll probably leave this in until the end of summer, and if I see some regrowth in the course of sort of perhaps June, July, I will of course feature it. If by the end of the summer it's dead, then obviously I'll probably take the plant out and put something else here that will be a little bit hardier, that will be easy to maintain. But I just thought I'd show you that having green in a stem does not magically mean your plant's alive. It simply means that it's taking longer to die completely. It's still on the way out, but this one, as I said, may come back from lower down, but we'll wait and see. So that's my yuzu, and that's a little bit of what I consider to be the urban myth of doing the scratch test to show that your plant's alive. It doesn't mean it's alive, it just means it's got green, still got some green stems being retained. It may well be that it comes back from the dead, and you might as well be optimistic, but it's certainly not a definite indication of your plant being alive. So thanks for watching the video, much appreciate it. Thumbs up, share if you wish, subscribe to my channel, and remember to click on the bell if you'd like to know when new videos come out. I'll catch up with you all soon. Brett out for now.